Welcome to the Fascia-Informed Therapist, the essential podcast for occupational therapy professionals looking to deepen their understanding of fascia's pivotal role in therapy and health. I'm your host, Amy Mayer, an experienced occupational therapist, practice owner, and dedicated educator. Here we'll dive into the fascinating world of fascia, exploring its significance in the human body and its critical influence on occupational therapy practice. Each episode will bring you cutting-edge insights, expert interviews, and practical strategies to help you confidently integrate the science of fascia into your therapeutic approach. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just starting out, our goal is to equip you with high-quality, evidence-based, and fascia-informed continuing education opportunities that will enhance your skills and benefit your clients. So join us as we unravel the complexities of fascia and transform the way you practice occupational therapy. All health and wellness practitioners are welcome. Let's learn, grow, and evolve together. Hi, this is Amy, and this is another edition of the Fascia-Informed Therapist. And today we're going to talk about client education again, a new topic from last week. I like to share stuff that comes up in my practice, so hopefully you can benefit from that as well. And of course, client education is one of the most important things that we do. And last week I mentioned that, I'm not here to say any other form of therapy is bad or wrong. Do I think we can all improve? Absolutely. I'm continually learning from what my clients teach me and things they bring to me and ideas they have, and constantly learning, and that's a good thing. Another thing I said last episode was also, clients interpret things often differently than we intended for them to be heard. So we have to keep those things in mind, especially if we're going to be somewhat critical or questioning of other methods. But part of my message today is just how fascia can inform us to help our clients, and especially in this particular situation. So, client in front of me has issues with her hips and her shoulders and her posture in general, which I believe is contributing to her experience of pain. And she's also seeing a physical therapy practitioner who does a specific style that focuses on posture and trying to help people improve their posture for better function. So I was talking to her and she said, well, my right, or no, it was her left hip, I think, doesn't matter. One of her hips was consistently forward. I think it was her left. And she said that was a problem that she was working on with her therapist. And I said, okay, well, the position of your hips can change from day to day depending on what your habits were. Like if you just drove for 2 hours, or if you're sitting on your couch with one leg tucked under to watch a movie, or how you're sitting at your workstation can change the angle of your hips. And she said, no, it's always like that. And I said, okay, well, what are you doing? And she started to show me an exercise that the physical therapist had given her. And I immediately knew what style of PT she was going to see, because this was a very complicated exercise. And I said to her, oh yeah, that looks really complicated. She's like, there's so many steps involved in how I have to position my body in order to do this exercise. And I said, okay, well, and then she also said it's forward when I walk too. I sort of lead with that hip. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, maybe we could take a more simplified approach to awareness of where that hip is and what you're doing. And I showed her, particularly when she was walking, how she can take a dowel stick and put it on the front landmarks of the hip. And then as she walks, she can see that if she is leading with that left hip, she'll see the left side of the dowel stick come forward before the other side, rather than having it move evenly forward. And then she can just practice. And again, using that concept we talked about last time, don't take a full stride. Just take whatever stride you can take and keep it level, or keep it even, I should say. And she thought, oh, well, yeah, that's pretty simple. Because I told her, okay, I asked her, how much are you doing those exercises? She said, every morning and every night. And then I said, okay, that's good. You're dedicated. That's awesome. And then my next question was, what do you think is making your hip like that? And your left hip forward. And she says, well, I have no idea. It's just a problem I have with my body. And I said, well, let's just walk through your life, for example. And I said, that's one thing that Caitlin and I do, is we try to explore back through your daily habits, your postural habits, your movement habits, and what is feeding into shaping your body this way. And she didn't really quite understand what I was talking about. And I told her a story of, and maybe I've told it on this podcast before, I don't honestly remember. But I told her a story about a woman that I had worked with quite a while ago who had pain and discomfort in her mid-back, kind of about bra line. And we could get rid of the pain during a session, and she'd walk out of there feeling pain-free, but within a day or two, it was back. And so we looked at her office, we looked at her car, we looked at her posture, of course, we looked at everything that I could think of looking at that might be feeding into causing pain. And she was doing great with her posture. She was doing great with her ergonomic habits, as far as I knew, but it would still consistently come back. During one of her sessions, we both felt really befuddled because she could walk out of there, feel great, but yet it kept sneaking back in. And then I'm like, okay, well, tell me about your hobbies. Tell me about your evenings. What are you doing outside of work? And she said, oh, my daughter and I, she was a single mom. My daughter and I love to watch television. We make dinner together and then we sit down and we watch television. And I'm like, okay, well, I was imagining this big cushy couch that she's sinking into and kind of forming that C shape with her spine. And I asked her, do you have a big cushy couch? She said, yeah, it's really comfortable. And I said, well, how are you sitting in that couch? And she went on to describe how if you imagine a couch sitting on one wall of a living room and then the television sitting on the wall opposite that, she said she and her daughter would sit on the couch and they would long sit, meaning their legs are stretched out straight. So they're both sitting sort of sideways on their couch with their backs against the arm of the couch and their feet touching in the middle. Really cute, right? But what she has to do in order to see the television is she has to pivot her spine and twist her spine so she can turn her head in that direction. And she's pivoting right on that spot where her back hurts. And when I asked her to just sit on my table and imagine she's in her living room, sit on my table like you would sit on the couch, and then turn and look where you imagine your TV would be. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's right there. It's right there. And I'm like, okay, then what can you do so that you're not consistently sitting in that same position. It doesn't mean you can't ever sit like that. You just can't do it every evening. Maybe you could flip-flop your positions. Maybe you could sit next to each other and put your feet up on something. Just give your body variety rather than that consistent input that's making you sore. So I told my client that example, and I said, you need to think about what is it that you're doing that's feeding into that hip wanting to lead. And I said, a common example is people cross one leg over the other all the time, or they stand with the weight dumped in one hip or the other. And as soon as I said that, she goes, oh, yeah, that's me. And she sort of dumped into her left hip. And I said, okay. I said, do you remember when you did your evaluation with Caitlin? She told you about your fascia and she told you about the fibroblast. I said, do you remember that word at all? And I don't think that she did. I said, okay, I'm going to explain this to you. And I want you to think about what the fibroblasts do. And the fibroblasts build your body based on the input you give it. And if you are consistently dumped into your left hip, your fibroblasts are going to build you up denser fascia, and then your fibroblasts are super efficient. So if you're not using or putting weight into your right hip as often, they could potentially be taking some support away over there. And then when you want to do things that are symmetrical, it's harder to walk symmetrically because you've got asymmetry in the tension in your hips. And she's like, oh, okay. And then I said, okay, so you're going to spend all this time doing these complicated exercises twice a day. And then if you keep dumping into your hip and all the in between, you're not going to make any progress. And I think the clouds parted and the sun shone through in that moment. And she went, okay, I get it. So better you bring your body into more symmetry, where you try to get more comfortable standing with your weight balanced on your 2 feet, or start dumping into the right side. Don't just dump into the right side all the time. Find some variety. Find some variety. I want you to build a body that feels equally as comfortable dumping into the right as dumping into the left, and standing symmetrically. All 3 of those positions should feel equally comfortable. And that seemed so simple to her. And then if you layer on another concept that we talked about last time, that's the idea she's going to take into life. She can do those exercises twice a day, but if she goes back to doing the dishes all the way dumped into one side all the time, what's the point of doing those exercises? She could do those exercises and go and do the dishes, sometimes dumping into the right, sometimes standing symmetrically, sometimes left, but more right and symmetrical for a while. If she can layer that into brushing her teeth, washing her dishes, all the other stuff she's doing during the day, standing at her standing workstation, whatever she's doing, don't you think somebody's going to make more progress when you layer in that important postural component, that important habit component that we as OTs are so good at? So good at helping people identify their habits, their routines, and slightly shifting them in order to help improve their health and reduce their pain. I also explained another concept to her, well, 2 more concepts. 2 more concepts. One is gentle consistency. Better to be gently consistent than to do intensive work. If you want your body to change, you need gentle consistency. The other concept we talked about was bringing something in to the conscious. So her habit of dumping into her left side was very unconscious. I said, I want you to bring that habit of how you hold yourself back into your conscious awareness for a while until your body starts to change. Do it so much in your conscious awareness, and we know it's worth the time and the effort because it's going to help you. It's going to help you in the long run. Bring that habit into your conscious awareness until your unconscious habit is balancing between those three positions and shifting between those three positions. That when you start to do it so long, you'll actually catch yourself. Oh, if you're too long in one particular position. That all made sense to her. And Caitlin and I were having a conversation about this, and she actually came up with a new tagline. That girl is so smart. That I think we're going to start shifting and rebranding with this in 2025, so nobody steal it from us. Scientific, simple, sustainable. So if you want to help your clients, you want it to be scientific, and you want to be able to explain it to them in a scientific way that they can understand. You want it to be simple. You want it to be something that they can actually do and easily incorporate into life. Because I don't run into that many clients who are actually really good at doing long lists of complicated exercises, no matter who gave it to them. You want it to be sustainable. And if it's simple, it's more likely to be sustainable because you want them to be gently consistent over time, a sustainable way of approaching changing their habits, a sustainable way of approaching doing homework or exercises that are going to help them create a pain-free, more resilient body. Okay, scientific, simple, sustainable. That is, I would say, how I've always tried to approach working with clients, but I never had such good words for it. So thank you, Caitlin Rambo, for coming up with that great idea. All right, I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. Thank you again so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in to the Fascia-Informed Therapist. It's been a pleasure sharing insights and strategies to help you integrate fascia science into your practice. I'm Amy Mayer, and I hope today's episode has inspired you to explore further and take your therapeutic skills to the next level. Remember, we're committed to creating and providing top-notch, evidence-based, fascia-informed continuing education that empowers you as an occupational therapy practitioner. Stay connected with us for more enriching content, and don't forget to check out our online courses to deepen your expertise. Until next time, keep expanding your knowledge, refining your skills, and confidently applying the science of fascia to your practice. Here's to advancing together in health and wellness.